And joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander of New Hampshire. She served as an intelligence officer in the U.S. Navy Reserve and sits on the Armed Services Committee. Congresswoman, thank you for joining us. Let's start with the talks set to take place on Saturday in Pakistan. What should be the #1 goal for U.S. negotiators going into these talks?
Well, thanks so much for having me, Anna. Going into these talks in Pakistan, which to me is a pretty unlikely venue for peace talks that are coming out of a war of choice the president launched 40 days ago. We're 40 days into this war. I hope that we will see success for the United States in these talks. But the fact is, we have no idea why the president abandoned diplomacy in the first place. And I'm very concerned that the president has said clearly he believes the 10 points the Iranians have put forward are a, quote, workable basis for these negotiations. As I read these points, Anna, these are absolutely unacceptable. They don't address the core security concerns, including the crisis that the president has ignited with Iran taking a grip on the Strait of Hormuz and really entering into a place where this has become the ultimate asymmetric weapon against America's economy and the global economy. So there has got to be a resolution in which we see the Strait of Hormuz reopened and that we don't sell out the United States of America in the course of doing so. I'd add that we need to see progress on the nuclear program. What is the plan for highly enriched uranium? This was at one point one of the reasons that the president cited for going to war in the first place. And his statements over the last few days have been deeply alarming on this front. It sounds like the president is willing to pay and to sell out the American people and American taxpayers at almost any price. And that is my core set of concerns.
So I'm hearing you say that you think the Strait of Hormuz and the nuclear issues should be priorities going into these talks. The president has already said that the U.S. has met and exceeded all of its military objectives. Defense Secretary Hegseth said just yesterday that Iran's military has been rendered combat ineffective for years to come. I want to lean into your intel experience. How do you see it? Has the U.S. accomplished military goals and wiped out Iran's military for the foreseeable future?
Look, this has been the most significant air campaign in modern history. And unfortunately, what we've seen, we've got the greatest military in the history of the world. They have been deployed in a war of choice without clear objectives and without proper congressional oversight. We haven't had a single public hearing since this war began 40 days ago. The Secretary of Defense has not appeared before Congress. And that's a huge problem because it's from where I sit now, it's very difficult to know what is true. We've heard a wide variety of accounts. It's very difficult to know what has actually happened on the ground. But my focus is really that this is a war that never should have been launched in the first place. And we should not see the President of the United States selling out the American people in these negotiations that will take place in Pakistan tomorrow.
And so you have called for lawmakers to return to Washington immediately to vote for another war powers resolution on Iran. We've already seen 6 failed attempts in recent weeks across both chambers, starting with Venezuela in addition to Iran. Again, 6 votes, none have passed. Why should Americans expect this time to be different?
Well, Anna, we're 40 days into this war. The Speaker of the House has only allowed the House of Representatives to be in session and do the people's work for 33 days in this entire calendar year. That should concern every American who believes that they deserve, which is what they do deserve under our Constitution, a Congress that's going to do its job. You know, as I've been here all across the state of New Hampshire, I'm hearing what I know my colleagues around the country are hearing too, which are people who are feeling the pain of this war at the gas pump. They're feeling it at the grocery store. They're feeling it at the pharmacy. We're in the middle of an affordability crisis that is standing in between hardworking people and the American dream. And this war has jacked up costs for people across the board. And it's, I fear, only going to continue to do so, which is why reopening the Strait of Hormuz and getting a grip and getting us back out of this crisis of the president's own creation is such a high priority.
Well, you made it clear where you stand and where
together.
Democrats stand, but it doesn't sound like you necessarily have the Republican support that would be required to really enforce like a war powers resolution to hold this administration accountable in the way that you are suggesting is needed.
Well, what I'd say is here in New Hampshire, I'm hearing what I hope I will hear from my colleagues in Congress, which is that they did not vote for this war of choice. They did not vote for a president to launch the war that's hugely costly in American lives and in taxpayer dollars, to threaten to end a civilization. This is not what any person of good faith signed up for or voted for. And if they are representing their constituents, they will vote with us and do their duty under our Constitution.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander, thank you very much for being with us. I appreciate your time.